Welcome back to the Denver Huddle. I'm Jim Solani along with Dennis Smith and Butch Johnson. You know, quite frankly, the game with the Niners at Mile High Saturday was rather boring for 3 quarters, but at least it did have a good finish, the kind the Bronco fans could go home with and feel good about. You won't see this very often in Bill Walsh, a smile on the face, but it is preseason. And Dwight Clark, of course, one of the great receivers in football, kind of a mirror image of the guy we got, number 81, Steve Watson. They catch the ball when you throw it to them. They're not flashy. They run the great routes, and they get the jobs done. And both of these players would catch a couple balls on this night. And Dennis, you were captain. What's it feel like to be captain for the night?
Well, you feel like you have to play well when you're captain. You know, it's not a game that you want to go out and not perform at your best.
All right, when we come back, we'll take another look at Saturday night's game. And also the Broncos plan on putting another man in the backfield. We'll take a look and see exactly how that works when we return live to Greeley. Welcome back to the Denver Huddle. We're live in Greeley at the University of Northern Colorado. Rulon Jones and Butch Johnson, along with myself, Jim Solani. We'll be talking about Saturday night's game against the Saints. Let's get to the highlights right now and take a look exactly what happened in the game won by the Saints 10-7. Of course, they come in under a brand new coach. This guy, Jim Mora, had a great reputation in the USFL, a couple of championships, and he has quickly put together a team. This is Bobby Hebert, the Raging Cajun. He looked great in the second half. Vance Johnson, he's got his game face on. And Butch, you guys didn't have the ball very long in offense.
Well, what we wanted to establish early was a running game, and that wasn't working. So this was a third down play. John got a little pressure from the defense right there. Vance goes up.
Something we do want to talk about today was the story revolving around Barney Chavis. Barney is no longer in camp. It has not been made official yet by the Broncos. We started the story off about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and Barney has been asked to retire. We have confirmed that through 5 players. Again, this is only through our investigation. It has not been revealed to us by the Broncos yet. Dan Reeves likes to keep those things personal between himself and the player. We can respect that, but as far as we can learn, Barney Chavis is home and is through playing as a Denver Bronco after 14 years. And it had to be a shock to you guys to have this story kind of slip out of the bag little by little today, and finally it became real that he wasn't here and would not be back. Rulon, what was you had lunch with him today. What was your reaction to the story?
Total surprisement, surprising to me. Like you said, I had lunch with Barney, and his spirits were high, and didn't know anything about it.
Our sports director, Jeff Thomas, was talking with Steve Foley just moments ago, and Steve says he's been in contact with Barney tonight. Recently, he says Barney is still in very good spirits, but he doesn't know yet whether he's going to retire or force the Broncos to waive him. So it's one of the two, but Barney is through playing as a Bronco. Butch, tell me, what was the feeling in camp today that you felt about the Chavis story?
Well, I think it was like a morgue. Anytime you lose a player or a player leaves your ball club that has spent so many years here, and Barney's been here for 13, 14 years.
One thing we do get used to in professional sports is there's always change, and Barney is no longer with the Broncos, and there's also change in the Bronco offense, and we want to talk about the two-back offense. So let's take a look at it now and take a look exactly what the two-back offense is, Butch, as we've gone with the one-back offense in the past.
Well, actually, it's going back to the old...
Should be interesting to see if it works out. When we come back, our critic at large, Greg Moody, will take a look at Bronco camp. He attacks the equipment. And running backs Joe Dudek and Tony Bodie will be here to talk about their quest to make the Bronco roster. Welcome back to the Denver Huddle first preseason report. I'm Jim Solani, and joining me right now is Mike Hafner from KNUS Radio. Mike, before we do talk about how you think the Broncos did in their first preseason game, I want to get your reaction on the big booming story today of Barney Chavis.
Jimmy, there's no way to cut a 13-year veteran, especially someone who has been maybe the focal point of the emotion of this club for so many years.
Okay, now let's talk about the game with the Saints on Saturday. I got a mixed reaction from the veterans in the locker room. Several said, this will wake us up. And several said, first game of preseason, don't even worry about it.
Well, I've got a feeling for the first time Dan Reeves said, I don't care whether I win this football game. I'm going to teach these guys one.
I'm glad we got you here tonight, too, being an ex-wide receiver, still with decent-looking knees.
I can still walk, Jimmy.
We've got a pretty good battle going on for the wide receiving spots, and I know you watched the competition in this game, maybe 4 guys going for 2 spots, and we've got some footage we want you to watch, and just give us your ideas on who might make this team and who might not,
okay,
as we take a look at it.
First one here, I believe, is John on the scramble, and no, we're going up to Minnesota to hammer him.
All right, Mike, thanks for coming by and talking to us. Appreciate it.
Yeah. By the way, Jimmy, the little piece you did with Busick and Hundley was the best piece of journalism at this training camp so far. Outstanding job. I wouldn't ask those questions of those big guys, but you did a good job.
I look like Pee Wee Herman between those two guys, too, didn't I?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for saying that, Mike. I appreciate it. Well, that is it for our first edition of the Denver Huddle. We'd like to thank UNC and all the folks who've made it possible. And a reminder that we'll be here next week live again, Hopefully the rain will hold off for us at 6:30, so you can come on out and watch. We have a small gathering of folks from Greeley, I'm assuming. Bronco fans who watch the show, you're welcome to come by and watch them set up the show and how we do it live. For Butch Johnson, Rulon Jones, I'm Jim Selania. Thanks for joining us for the Denver Huddle. First time preseason.
Like Vietnam, and there we got so many people hurt. And I think it's the turf. I don't like the turf. I never have liked the turf, and this seems to be one of the worst ones.
Dan Reeves was right. It did look like Vietnam in the Minneapolis Dome after the Broncos lost this past weekend. Some of the injuries major, some of them minor. We're going to get into those in detail tonight on the Denver Huddle. Welcome to the Denver Huddle. We're live at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley. I'm Jim Selania. With me again, joining me live on set, Rulon Jones and Butch Johnson. We're going to talk about those injuries. We're going to take a look at the highlights. But first, the big news of the day was the Broncos cut 11 more players, and foremost, I believe, was Butch Johnson. Butch, you've had about 10 hours now to mull over what you learned today from Dan Reeves. What are your thoughts right now?
Well, my thoughts reflect back on my career, and basically my family is probably my primary concern, where my future lies. I really don't want to talk about what I'm going to do or speculate on what I'm going to do, but I hate to leave some good guys who I had a chance to play with and become familiar with. Unfortunately, I didn't play here as long as I had anticipated.
Rulon, last week it was Barney. A week from Monday, it's Butch Johnson along with Dean Miraldi, a few other players that you've gotten to know real well, including Mike Barber. What's it feel like for the team right now in camp? Is it just part of the business that you know you have to go through?
Well, it is part of the business, but I don't think you can really ever anticipate the feelings you're going to have until one of your friends are gone. So when somebody leaves a team like Butch and some of the guys you played with and have battled on the field and sweated and cried and had joy with and all that, it's a loss, there's no question about it, but it's the nature of the game, and it's a tough business, but it's just part of it.
All right, Butch, we want to make a commitment right now to you from Channel 9. We want you to be on the Denver Huddle as long as you want to do it, all right?
Oh, that's great.
Okay, and welcome back to the Denver Huddle. We're live in Greeley. Jim Selania along with Rulon Jones and Butch Johnson. And let's go quickly now to the Dome in Minneapolis, where the Broncos took on the Vikings in Game 2 of the preseason. Now, Minneapolis was a hot, muggy day. You're looking at the Mississippi River as a barge tugged its way down there. And that bubble looks kind of soft on top, but inside, it's a tortuous pit. I mean, it's the hardest surface in the NFL. Jerry Burns, the head coach of the Vikings, 17 years under the tutelage of Bud Grant. And Dennis Smith says, I'm ready. Let's play some football.